Dear President Afrim Gashi, allow me to express pleasure that this is taking place today in the Assembly. We're continuing the tradition with the first forum on cultural diplomacy, the second was in Ohrid, and the third one is again here in Skopje. We just finished our debate in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade. Today we're here, tomorrow we're at the President of the State. Tonight, this afternoon, we have a session on History Without Borders. Tonight, in the Museum of Contemporary Arts, other activities regarding what small countries can offer, how culture can be a bridge of connection. So, dear President Majdani, dear former President Krivokapic, dear ministers, members of Assembly, parliamentarians, guests, members of the Assembly of the Republic of Macedonia. In past years, everybody is talking that we're living in times of polycrisis. This is a phenomenon that overall life experiences big transformation, beginning with the COVID crisis, the war in Ukraine, the war in Gaza, the security challenges, mass migration, crime, and everything else. People following the media, they will understand that what I said is, what Henry Kissinger said, all international order is moving towards a chaos. A wise man from Asia, who is representative of the thought, he says, if it is truly a chaos in the world, it would be best for India in such a world, because in India every day is a chaos. Different views, different opinions, different civilizations have their own perspective on what is taking place in the world now, but the essence is that democracy is in a period of stagnation. You know, when World War II finished, there were only 9 countries, democracies in the world, and now we have around 90. The others are autocrats, hybrid regimes, but the trend is that in the last 2 centuries, as defined by the academia circles, a democratic recession. Democracy is losing its power to be a mobilizing power and attract the youth to think that through the institutions they can come to changes. This brings about the fragmented world. And why is this taking place? Because we have growing populism. Populism is not a criticism of democracy, but instead a criticism of the elites who have abused democracy for their own personal goals. There are a number of disinformation, huge political polarization, and a global economic instability has been created, and it brings into question the fate of democracy. Instead of finding solutions, all of these democratic indicators, they are more and more creating a void. And the question comes how to make democratic institutions sustainable and maintain them. Last year we had a record democratic year in the years because a lot of elections took place last year. India had elections, across Europe there were elections as well, and people raised their expectations during these elections. And they have hopes, new hopes when elections are coming. But there are factors that are always there, which is global inequality. Those from Institute has an indicator how much the economic inequality impacts people's perception. So economic inequality creates disappointment at a lot of people, and brings doubt of to democracies. Social media have strengthened fake news and undermined the public debate. Anybody can say what they think without bearing the responsibility for stating his public opinion or a responsibility for self-generating news. Once you have fake news broadcast, then it is the foundation for a lot more fake news. Psychologists say it is more difficult to lie a person than to convince him in the truth. As human beings, we are predetermined to believe lies than truth. There are a lot of truths, but the facts are only ones. We should see the facts and have our own truth about these facts, but facts are the ones that lead us to the truth, which is very difficult in today's time. A lot of societies have internal divisions based on identities. This makes dialogue and compromise more difficult. Axiom in the politics is that each society has to have a consensus. A lot of countries, without having an internal consensus, they make external compromises, which is the case with Macedonia, because we did not build up an internal consensus and then had to make foreign compromises. That is present in all countries in the world, and this disappointment creates mistrust in democracies. Political instability is the result of migrant crises who test democratic values such as solidarity and equality. Without these two, we do not have democracy. All these leads to a planet of authoritarian tendencies, because those that are authoritarians, they say we have solutions to everything, just elect me and in 12 hours I'll finish the war. Or in a month I will find a solution. And radical structures everywhere in the world, they work on the emotions. They incentivize the emotions, create big expectations with people, and big expectations always carry big disappointments. And we can see this when extreme politicians take over the government and make the situation even worse. How to strengthen democratic institutions now? First and foremost, we must bring back transparency. Democratic institutions must be transparent. As we say in science, we must not have a secret corridors of power. If you are elected by the people must be faced with what the truth is. We must not lie them with brighter future or something else. When we were kids, they said, when communism comes, everything will be fine. So this is not proper. So people believe that when we enter the European Union, everything will be smooth and fine. Our colleagues from Croatia will tell you that it's not just the right case, that everything will be just right when we enter the EU. Everything depends on us. And that is why transparency is first and foremost in returning trust of the citizens. We must build resilience to disinformation, educational campaigns for media literacy, and support independent media who offer information. We must increase citizens' involvement and engagement. Democracy is not from elections, only on elections when citizens give their vote for their representatives. We need mechanisms for constant involvement, engagement of citizens through public debates, citizens' initiatives, local participation, as is the case with this forum on cultural diplomacy. This is citizen participation, citizens' engagement, and with the experience of our guests and friends sharing experiences in order to improve trust in institutions. And we must respect the rule of law, and judiciary must become impartial without political influences. This is the role of the Assembly as well, in order to put aside all influences which would bring about laws that only a small group will benefit, or small community. Laws are equal for all. Equal before the laws is the basis of democracy. But we know not only in our country, but the judiciary is under huge pressure in Europe and in the world. So this is not only a case of the Balkans, it's becoming European already, it's becoming trend. There are statements from European politicians that they'll suspend any threat of democracy that comes from a party who's not inclined towards European values, as the case with Germany. So these are phenomena that we're facing each day, but education is the basis for each democratic society. We must foster values such as critical thinking, tolerance, citizens' responsibility from the earliest age. We must teach our kids in schools to communicate, because those who communicate, they integrate, and on the other hand, those who do not, they become as in ghetto. When we were young, there was a Soviet film from Georgia which was not allowed, and when I was a student, when I watched it, there is a scene with the main character, Stalin, and he says, "Do you know what, comrades, what is the most difficult thing I have faced? To find a black cat in a dark room. But even a bigger problem is when the cat is missing, but we will find it." So this is the basis. Those who live in the ghetto must have enemies in order to unite themselves and place the blame on the others. So through the process of education, we must educate people from the youngest age to live in environment with different languages and backgrounds and identities. There are centuries behind us. We have lived in harmony, and we have come to joint solution for the benefit of all. To my colleagues from abroad, I tell them the typical example of Mother Teresa. We have her here. She was birthed on the square. Some mixed marriages were usual there. Her mother was from Prizren, Catholic, Albanian Catholic, and her father was Albanian from Skopje, and she was born in the middle of Skopje, 50 yards away from the church Constantine and Eleva. 100 yards away is the Catholic church. Here is the Burlambi Jamia as well, and then the synagogue from the 14th century. And when she went to the theater, because she practiced there, the theater, which is based, because her father, as the only Catholic member of the Assembly of Macedonia back then, he supported the initiative to build the theater. And Branislav Nušić, whose true name is Kabilat Nuša, he was his friend. He comes from Bitola, and his mother is Bosnian. So I wanted to make a picture of what kind of a world Mother Teresa was living in. She would walk out of the theater and pass by the church, the synagogue, and the jami, etc., the mosque. Her friend sitting next to her in school is Serbian. She has a cousin Macedonian, and she received the final letter from her cousin, this cousin who was Macedonian. And a friend from her neighborhood, the one that comes right here to the Assembly, there was a street back then, there was a Hotel Jadran back then, where her friend from childhood lived. Eleni, who was Greek, and she was the granddaughter of the Greek Zorba. So we have persons living in Skopje back then who are famous now. So the Greek Zorba, is famous now. So Mother Teresa had friends coming from all ethnic identities, all religious backgrounds, languages, and this is an example that we must follow, because she did not learn to tolerate. We're discussing this with our guests. Tolerance is a concept created after the religious wars between the Protestant and Catholics. It's enough hatred for each other, now you're going to tolerate. As somebody said, what is tolerance? I don't like you, but I will tolerate you. Mother Teresa learned what is tradition at this basis, which is respect. As respect is higher than tolerance. I respect you and you respect me. And she promoted this all her life. She respected the poor, the weak, to respect her birthplace, to promote it. She was born in Ottoman Empire. She learned in the Kingdom of Serbia, and she left Skopje when the Kingdom of Serbo-Croatian Slovenes was at the time. So you could travel if you stay in one place. So I have changed 3 states. My father 4, and my grandfather changed 7 states in his lifetime, staying in one place. But that is the Balkans. Whoever knows the Balkans loves the Balkans, since the Balkans gives a lot, but also seeks a lot. It asks us to respect each other, to learn from each other, and as such enter the parliament, and with respect towards each other, to nurture the dialogue. That is how we will return trust. And democracy depends on people above all. It is not abstract. We cannot learn it only from books. If we participate in democracy, we open issues, find solutions, and come to what we say is our common life, on which the destiny of yourself and your children depends, and that is how the world will become a better place. Thank you. I was giving you a lecture like each professor would. Thank you.